my pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for a new original book tag. So this book tag was inspired by the 20 questions book tag that I uploaded last week. So in the same way, this book tag consists of 20 questions in order to get to know readers better. So yeah, let's just get started. The first question is, what are your favorite genres to read? Fantasy, contemporary, and historical fiction. The second question is, do you read more relatively popular or underrated books? I would say honestly both. Popularity is pretty subjective, but I would say probably both. So yeah. The third question is, from what author have you read the most books from? Honestly, I would have to say Lemony Snicket probably. I love the series of Unfortunate Events so much, and I think it's so fascinating and so good. So yeah, probably him. The fourth question is, what audiences, YA, middle grade, adult, etc., do you gravitate towards the most? YA and middle grade for me, I love those audiences so much. Since I've always loved reading, I continue to read from those audiences a lot, if that makes any sense. So yeah. The next question is, who's the most relatable character? Honestly, I don't really have one, if I'm being honest, because the majority of my favorite fictional characters are more so people that I want to be like, and less so people that I can actually relate to, if that makes any sense. So yeah. The next question is, have you always loved reading? I have. I've been an avid reader since I was really little. I learned how to read when I was 3 years old, and I fell in love with reading ever since. Reading for me is such a comfort, and it's such I use it for escapism, because a book a day keeps reality away. So yeah, we love and hate to see it. Anyway, the next question is, what's a book you feel was written for you? I don't really know. There are many books out there that I can relate to in terms of characters or plots or representation or whatever, but I can't really pinpoint one specific book that I felt was really speaking to my heart, if that makes any sense. So honestly, I don't really have one. The next question is, first or third person? I definitely prefer third person over first person, because I feel it allows for more character expansion and character development than first person. Although, in the same sense, I also prefer multiple perspectives over single perspectives. But anyway, that's irrelevant. The next question is, are you a mood reader or a TBR reader? Fun fact, I actually learned the difference between a mood reader and a TBR reader pretty recently. I thought that I understood the difference, and I thought that everybody was a mood reader, because how can you read something that you're not in the mood for? But then I realized that actually I'm both. I follow my TBR pretty regularly, but also sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm not exactly in the mood to follow my TBR, so sometimes I read a book that wasn't necessarily on my TBR, but is kind of interesting, so I pick it up, and I realize, oh my gosh, this book is actually so good, and I should have put it on my TBR, but then I just didn't, because before I read it, it wasn't necessarily a story or an author that I was very intrigued by, if that makes any sense. And also, when I say my TBR, I mean my Goodreads want to read list, since I don't have a physical TBR. But anyway, I explained that in more detail in the other 20 questions book tag, in case you're confused as to what I mean. But anyway, the point is that I'm both a mood reader and a TBR reader, because even though I do follow my TBR pretty regularly, sometimes I don't. So yeah, sometimes basically I'm in the mood to follow my TBR, and sometimes I'm not. So there you have it. In that sense, I'm both. So anyway, the 10th question is, do you prefer a series or standalones? Honestly, probably series over standalones, just because I read a great deal of fantasy, and there aren't a great deal of fantasy standalones, although I have made 4 videos about fantasy standalones, so maybe they're not as rare as people think. You know what I mean? Anyway, I would say definitely series over standalones is my preference. So next question is, do you annotate your books? I don't, because since I borrow books from the library more often than I buy my own books, I cannot annotate a book that doesn't belong to me. So yeah, I don't annotate my books. The next question is long or short books. I would definitely say longer books, although I feel like what constitutes as long or short is like very subjective and it's up to you. So what like I consider a longer book may be not what other people consider a short book and vice versa. But like basically I would say longer books. So yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense. But anyway, the 13th question is favorite bookish tropes. I would say that my favorite bookish tropes are found family and fish out of water. Definitely for sure. I love those tropes so much. But yeah, I also like friends to lovers, as well as for like a romantic bookish trope. I don't really like enemies to lovers that much. I feel like it's kind of overrated. I definitely prefer though, I would say, enemies to lovers in a fantasy setting than in a contemporary setting, because in a contemporary setting, it's just more petty and more annoying. I just don't understand why like they hate each other so much. But in a fantasy setting, it's more like understandable, because the reason why they hate each other is more rooted in like culture and stuff, and it's not necessarily like a choice. It's more instead of like how they were raised. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense. But basically, yeah, I digress. My favorite bookish tropes are definitely found family and fish out of water, and I also really like friends to lovers in terms of a more like romantic bookish trope. And I also like forced proximity more and more these days. But yeah, there you have it. Found family and fish out of water are my top two. So anyway, the 14th question is favorite book to TV adaptation. So, I don't know. I really like Before I Fall. I really like Catching Fire. I like The Great Gatsby. I can't really think of anything other than that. I like The Hate You Give. Kind of. Yeah, I kind of have mixed feelings over The Hate You Give movie, honestly. So anyway, my answer is Before I Fall and Catching Fire. So, the 15th question is, do you DNF? I absolutely DNF. I DNF books all the time. Like, literally, I would say a third of the books that I read, I actually DNF. But like half of the books I read, I should DNF. But sometimes I don't, because I feel like, oh my gosh, this book is going to get so much better. But then it doesn't. So, yeah. Anyway, the next question is, what's a book that you wish had a sequel? I don't have one. Because all of the books that I've read, literally all of them, I don't wish that there was more of them. Like, literally, for example, I don't wish that Radio Silence had a sequel, and I also don't wish that, like, the Grisha trilogy had more to it, because I feel like the authors did a good job of, like, finishing the series, or the standalone, or the story, like, where it was. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense. I hope that it does. But yeah, that's just me again underestimating how eloquent I actually am, which we talked about in the last video that I made. But anyway, the 17th question is favorite fictional place. I would definitely say my favorite fictional place is like, I love the school in Nevermore. I love like academic fantastical settings literally so much. I also like Kettledam in the Grishaverse, although I wouldn't actually visit that place because I would probably die, so we can't have that. So I would probably say like the whimsical magical school in Nevermore. I literally think that's so whimsical and it's so magical, and I'm literally so excited for the 4th book in that series, which I think comes out at like the end of the year or something like that. But anyway, the 18th question is ebooks, audiobooks, or physical books. I would say ebooks or physical books because, like, especially with the pandemic, I read more ebooks now than I ever have before. But even prior to the pandemic, I would read more ebooks and physical books than anything else. I don't really use audiobooks that often because for me, I get so distracted. So like if I listen to an audiobook, I would get so distracted. So we can't have that. We cannot have that. Anyway, the 19th question is, what's your average page length preference? Like, how long do you wish all your books to be, if you could like control that? I hope that makes sense as a question. But yeah, anyway, I wish all my like books to be like between 450 and 500 pages. That's why I said earlier, like the length of a book is kind of like subjective, and what you think is a long book may not be what I think is a long book. For me, a long book is like 700 pages, 600 pages. So yeah, I would like all my books to be 450 to 500 pages because I feel like that's a good, chunky, thick book, and I love thick books. So yeah, the last question is like, the 20th question is to tag people, and I tag anybody who is interested. So yeah, there you have it. That's my version of the 20 questions book tag 2.0, which was inspired by the original 20 questions book tag that I filmed last week. Well, I didn't film it last week. I uploaded it last week. I actually filmed it yesterday. But anyway, yeah, there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the kiwi emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video.